Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marvel 30 Questions, Daredevil Born Again 30 Questions, a podcast where each week we and you will ask 30 questions about the new Marvel show on Disney+. I am your host, Adam Porteous, and joining me today, he ain't gonna get got in this first episode, Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
Well, I definitely don't take a knife to the chest at any time during this recording, for sure.
And he fights down the hallway each day. Bruce Leslie.
If only Sweet Shanzi knew what was in store for him.
Here at Marvel 30 Questions, we aren't like your other regular blow-by-blow stuff. No, sirree, Bob. We reach out to you. We didn't this week, but we will for next week. Email us at marvel30q@gmail.com. And we might get one of your questions on this show. So we got 30 questions. Let's start it up. Again, we're going to be reviewing the Daredevil Born Again season, maybe season 1. I don't know how we're defining this. Yeah,
they call it season 1.
Do they?
Disney calls it season 1. Yeah.
All right, we'll call it season 1, episodes 1 and 2. Maybe who knows? Whatever. Let's start off with question number 1, just so people know that where we're coming from with this series. What were you guys' initial thoughts on the Netflix version of Daredevil pre this show?
I thought it was the strongest of the Netflix shows. Take that for what it's worth, like the loudest whisperer or whatever you want to say. But overall, I enjoyed it, particularly the first couple of seasons.
I think that Daredevil, over the span of the 3 seasons that it had, is by far the best entry from Netflix Marvel. I think that, there was a season and there were quite a few episodes here and there where you're like, okay, you guys are just spinning wheels.
Yeah.
But by far, this is the best entry to Netflix Marvel. With the exception of the first half of season 1 of Luke Cage, which I think we all agree was great. And the first season of Jessica Jones.
Yeah, that's personally my favorite season of any season as a whole on Netflix.
I think anything else from Marvel, Netflix was kind of an also ran. And I'm even including, even though I thought it was pretty good, the Punisher series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went on the record as not being a big fan of... did it just get 1 season or did it get 2?
Yeah, it
was a little too brutal for my taste, however many seasons it got.
It's also the thing where, like, when he shows up in other people's things, he's great. But that's what it needs to be.
Yep.
Yeah, keep the Punisher at that kind of level. Yeah, I was a huge fan of the Netflix Daredevil stuff. As somebody who's a decent sized fan of Daredevil, it felt like they got just about every single thing right that they needed to. Like Sean said, there were a couple of filler episodes there that are just like, all right, what are we doing? But for the most part, man, it was exactly what you wanted. That first season where he's going around pretty much, with the black costume and everything. So good. Just like all the action scenes and all that kind of good stuff. So the Disney Plus had a lot to live up to, I think.
I think that also Netflix Daredevil is kind of like they split the baby with the bathwater in a good way, where like I think that they do give you the comic correct costume. But they also know it's kind of dopey. So let's put him in the black, or there's that one year where he's got the fists all bandaged up and stuff.
Yeah, the Frank Miller, really cool version of the Frank Miller art, if you ask me. I like that version.
Me too. And I think that those work better for Netflix Daredevil just because they know it. They're like, look, we know that you want to see a comic book accurate Daredevil. It just there is something inherently dopey about it, especially with something that's as ground level as Daredevil is. Like when you got big giant movie like a Captain America movie, sure, put Captain America in the thing. But like with these smaller neighborhood plots, like it works better that way. And I think that's one of the things that Netflix did very well with their show.
They did the smart thing too by building up the story and the world and everything before we gave you a giant superhero costume laden character. You bought everything going in. You were, bought into the whole world. So when that happened, it felt organic. It felt like something that would actually happen as opposed to just boom, right out the gate Daredevil costume and stuff like that, which probably would have turned people off.
Yeah.
And I think the success of the MCU has turned a lot of the casual watchers against masks in general on superheroes. So,
Sure.
Daredevil's got a mask.
And there is the other part to this, which is that, Daredevil Netflix had something that Tim Burton's Batman had to do, which is that, I think by and large, people think that the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie is dopey. And so, okay, well, that's dopey, but we're trying to make a ground level, like gritty, as realistic as we can about a blind lawyer who fights crime at night type of show. And I think that they succeeded in that, much like Tim Burton's Batman '89.
Yeah. Out of place, but still somehow works.
Yeah.
Bruce, number 2.
Did the visual imagery of the opening have you engaged before the story had even begun?
Adam, you go first because I'm going to be very long-winded about this.
I'll be honest with you. I have gone into this whole thing with slight trepidation because I enjoy the Netflix stuff so much. So I'll be honest with you. Even up until the end of the first episode, I'm still kind of like on edge here, going like, what are we about to do here? So like, I wouldn't say that as much. Maybe I'm just remembering differently, but I feel like the Netflix opening felt a little stronger. Again, that was a long time ago, so I could be misremembering how much I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Everything you just said is the same for me. Like, I was very cautious about Daredevil on Disney Plus, just because we've been bitten so many times.
Exactly. You can only put your hand in that bush so often before you go,
It's so rare when they pull something off, honestly, it is. But the thing that surprised me about the opening to this, and I was just discussing this the other day, is that for years and years and years, you could tell if a television show was made after Mad Men, because the opening to Mad Men is so iconic that every show after it basically wanted to do that same thing. And it went on for years like that. And so bizarrely, and there's no way you guys have seen this show. I've only seen it because the lady that I live with really, really likes the show. This opening to Daredevil reminds me almost exactly like the opening to the show The Good Fight, where the entire opening of the show are things exploding from the show on a black backdrop, where to show you, like, this is how bombastic the show is going to get. Mm-hmm. And that's what Daredevil's trying to show you as well. It's the first instance in a very long time where I've seen something where I'm like, oh, they want to show you, like, Disney is trying to show you, look, we're tearing this apart so we can put it back together again. And it was very fascinating to me that they took a page from a totally different show than Mad Men for their opening.
You know what opening I like? Severance season 2.
I haven't seen it yet because
they got a new opening for it and stuff. It's very neat.
You know what I want to.
They do a great job with liminal space on Severance.
Liminal. Question number 3, Sean.
3. How upset do you think Jon Favreau is that Eldon Henson as Foggy suddenly became hot in the 7 years between Netflix Daredevil and Disney Daredevil? Because now he's the ugly Foggy between the two of them.
Oh man, the ugly. I picture that. You know how if you come in last place in your fantasy football league on that show, The League, you get the cursed trophy or whatever. Mm-hmm. I like it that there's the ugly Foggy award that goes back and forth every year. Like they meet, they have a panel of judges and decide who's the ugly Foggy.
It was kind of surprising to me where I was like, oh, that man had a glow up.
Half of it really is a haircut, where it's just like his haircut for those seasons on Netflix were pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it's like once those like, oh, if you just get this man a haircut, throw a little facial hair on him, all of a sudden things just change, and a suit that fits.
Yeah. He's also one of the blog people like me, where if you're Irish or Scottish or like Welsh, like of those ancestry, when you get older, it suits you more than when you're a younger man.
Or it just turns you into an old lesbian-looking lady.
Also true.
My goal is to look like groundskeeper Willie by the time I'm 25.
Well, let me tell you something. When Groundskeeper Willie takes his shirt off, you better get to work, son.
By the time you're 25.
Yeah, I was speaking.
You got
from
that
a
Jack
past state.
disease?
Exactly. I got the Morgan Freeman disease. I was born old and stayed that way.
He certainly has, man. All right.
Number 4, Adam.
Number 4, this new Disney Plus season so far feels like it's like a comic book when we get a new creative team. There's a new writer, new artist. It's not the same thing that you knew. Well, not exactly, at least. How is this new team working on Daredevil hitting you guys for these first 2 episodes?
It is definitely being Disneyfied. And by that, I mean, and also that could be a time thing where, like, look, the old Daredevil show is super white, like super, super white. So now, we're going to bring in the guy who is the cop, who is now his PI, who is also a writer and director himself, and an actor. That guy's great. His law partner, a black girl, like, they're going to do that stuff because it's, you got to update some of your cast. It was looking like chocolate chip ice cream, that show for 4 years, like for 3 years. So you do got to do that. And so I think that part's great. They're also doing the thing where they're like, look, we're getting rid of Foggy immediately. We're going to put Bullseye on ice for a while. So don't expect him for a while. Like, and these are the things, like you said. I mean, I think that it's worded perfectly. This is what new creative teams do, man. Like, this is like, if you were used to reading a funny book and the creative team on that changes, everything that you loved about that book is probably going to go away because it's a new creative team.
Daredevil was one of those books for me at that time when, like, in that early 2000 run where you got Quesada drawing it and he's fantastic, and then all of a sudden it goes over to David Mack, and that's like way, way different than it goes to Alex Maleev, and that's like almost horrible, almost, because it's just so weird and dark and scratchy.
Sketchy, yeah.
I'm old enough that I was reading Daredevil when Frank Miller returned, when the Reborn storyline was happening. So that was a major shift in just kind of your run-of-the-mill 80s Marvel comic, a middle of the card, nothing special, street level knockoff Spider-Man comic, basically. And then Frank Miller comes back to it and tackles it full force. So yeah, it was definitely, you feel that new creative team.
But to answer your question, I don't want to pull a portrait on you. I'll actually answer your question. I think that they are doing a pretty good job. Like, I was so trepidatious walking into this thing that I was a little bit like, well, I might watch the first episode and then, I'll wait to watch the second one. And I didn't need to do that. I watched the first episode. It's like, all right, 2 episodes of this bad boy. Nice. So it's at least that level of entertaining. And also it doesn't pass the phone test, but it's pretty damn close.
Now, talking about this as a new team working on Daredevil, that may be a little more true than you realize. I don't know the truth of the rumor I'm about to share, but I heard originally it was the Secret Invasion team were working on this, and they hit the brakes on that and got a new creative team in, and they said they'd rather take their time and get it out right. So this may also be like a new team took over the Reborn story also.
That's funny you should mention that, man, because the story that I've heard about this is that the opening was always basically the opening. They didn't change much of that. It's that it wasn't Daredevil enough is what I hear. I'm getting this secondhand, that it wasn't Daredevil enough. And so what they had shot wasn't working. And the higher ups at Marvel were like, look, this is our flagship television show. Like, we need to be better than this. And so they went back and basically reshot a bunch. I don't know how long those reshoots were, but they appear to be lengthy from what I know.
They rocked a Halloween ends on this bad boy where they turned it in. They were like, where the hell is the Daredevil in this, you sons of bitches? And they were like, oh, right. Damn.
Well, it's not that there isn't enough Daredevil. It's that there's not, like, it didn't feel like Daredevil. Yeah,
I can certainly see some of that. We'll definitely get into that in some of the further questions as we go on here. Bruce, number 5.
Is Foggy's beard the best character upgrade we've seen so far?
I don't know. I think Fisk losing about 150 pounds is pretty great too.
Did you see the episode with it wasn't Cottonmouth? What was the other guy's name? The lesser character on the
right
the bad back half villain in Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Like that was probably the best glow up because when he got
Sidewinder,
Sidewinder,
he got that little costume. He looked ridiculous. I love it though.
So
I loved it though. Yeah, to go from Mahershala Ali to that guy was the breaking point of the season, as they de-Mahershala too quickly.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they had.
They had no clue. It's like they didn't even look at dailies at that point, and they were just like, no, we've made a horrible mistake.
But take Foggy Nelson as a lesson, guys. If you got a baby face and people aren't taking you seriously, just grow a red beard. All your problems solved.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks great, man. He really does. That actor. Hopefully he gets some work outside of Daredevil because, well, he's going to need some. But he really did look great.
Listen, I want an updated version where we get him and Joshua Jackson and maybe even Juicy Smollett. Get him in there and get everybody back to do a Mighty Ducks thing where they've got to they've all gotten drunken driver things or whatever, and they're like, how tough could this be? And
what are the chances?
I do I do like the chance of or the idea, and I really did think of this probably a couple weeks ago, where if everybody the Mighty Ducks team, they get back together and it's the older guys, they're trying to teach the younger kids and everything, and they're like, how do we do this? And then one kid knows that Gordon was a drunk and no one else knows, but he's the one who has to tell everybody. It's like, guys, Gordon did this and he was hammered all the time.
Okay, I've got the idea, man. The original cast all goes to a reunion party. They all get drunk in the memory of their dead alcoholic coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they don't know is the police have set up a checkpoint just outside. So every original member of the team gets a DUI on the same night. And they have to each coach a different team in the league to see who's going to win.
So Adam, do you just name checked without meaning to name check Chappelle, calling him Juicy Smollett.
Yeah.
First of all, great on you. So glad that you did that. To me, that is Chappelle's best joke of the last 5 years. I love that joke so very much. God, it's great.
The look on everybody's faces when he was first do was like, what is he even talking about? What's the
Oh my God, it's so good.
Like, y'all know what I'm talking about?
Good. I'm talking about Juicy Smollett.
Number 6, Sean.
Do you know the joke?
Is it got something to do with Jesse Smollett or something?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Where he's like, he's basically like, look, he comes out, he says this thing, and all of the LA liberals are like, I can't believe that the black culture isn't coming out to support this. This is a horrifying incident where people wearing MAGA hats called him the N word and the F word at the same time and then attacked him. And Chappelle goes, what they didn't realize is that we were supporting him by saying absolutely nothing. Because all black people everywhere knew that if you were in Chicago and somebody walks up to you wearing a MAGA hat in Chicago,
that doesn't add up.
It's basically just Kanye. Does Kanye have a place in Chicago? And then he goes, and then so they ask him if he is the N word and F word from Empire. There isn't a single white person on the planet who has seen that show.
No, there's not.
That is a good bit, man. That makes sense.
It absolutely killed me. It is so well written, and he pauses perfectly. Like
It's great because it sounds like a rant someone would give without intending to be funny.
Oh God, it's just so good, man. It's so good. All right, sorry. Number 6.
Oh, we're still recording a podcast, aren't we?
Sorry,
Number
guys.
6, Sean.
Number 6. So Cherry is retiring from the force. And to celebrate, the police all hang out at this perfect neighborhood bar. Why is this always the case in movies and TV? No cop has ever had their retirement party at an awful place. Like no cop has ever had a retirement party at a Chili's or a Ruby Tuesday.
Oh, burn them off our sponsor list.
Man, I was really hoping to get some of that
those
Chili's
calls
money.
From Chili's. We were working on a deal for the Chili Rita. Or is that Applebee's? Oh, I'm sorry. Our deal's with Applebee's. Yeah, screw you, Chili's.
Listen, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have the last couple times I went to Chili's, I had their margarita. Oh my Lord, it's so good.
Okay, so for the regular people out there, let's get back to
Hey,
this.
I am the regular people. Trust me, they're going to Chili's and getting the margarita. I am them regular people. You watch your mouth.
Here's my theory. If you're a regular, like if you're the kind of alcoholic that likes to hang out at the dive bar, you're there because you're an alcoholic who likes, you're like the guy from Shameless. And as soon as you walk in, if you see a cop there, you're turning around and going somewhere else. So the cops, once a cop goes into a bar a few times, it becomes a cop bar because only cops are going to go in there because everybody else thinks he's just waiting to bust you on a private intox or he's going to get drunk and pull his gun out and shoot you, so.
Yeah, you drink, you have 3 drinks and then you walk outside and then he just kind of follows you right out going, hey, I watched you drink 3 drinks. You're going to jail.
Yeah, so that's my theory on the cop dive bar is they're doing the rest of the bars a favor by going to one place.
But this isn't a dive bar. This is a neighborhood bar. Like that bar is very nice.
Maybe it's the closest to the precinct.
What I'm talking, because look, I know plenty of cops who frequent dive bars. Like it happens often. At least I did back when I was a drinker. And like those are dive bar, like ugly dive bars where you can watch there's like 15 TVs up generally, so you can watch different games and blah 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 blah.
Oh, I was picturing like Barfly, that movie.
No, it's usually a sportsy bar. Like there's nothing sportsy about this bar. And it's usually something where everything is really cheap, and because that's what they can afford, right? Those drinks in that Manhattan bar that they're drinking in, those are very, very, very expensive drinks. And so it's one of those things where it just makes me shake my head. Like they're
still doing the thing where they want us to think Hell's Kitchen is what it used to be and not what it is.
But they even bring it up in the show.
Yeah.
They do name check it I think it's episode 2, but it is episode 2. But they do say like Hell's Kitchen is not what Hell's Kitchen used to be. And she says, yeah, tell me about it. I'm from Queens.
And then they go to Chili's and somebody goes, who had the riblets?
I love riblets.
And they go, can I get some Southwest egg rolls, please?
Listen, if there's an egg roll that goes to come from anywhere, the Southwest is where you want it from, if I'm going to be honest.
Do you have any of those down east egg rolls?
This one's got skull in it. Number 7. The open action set pieces were always a cornerstone in Daredevil Netflix, particularly at the beginning of each season. Did the opening fight scratch that itch for you this time?
It did for me. I won't speak for anybody else, but I thought it was a solid I thought it was a darn good opening fight scene for Daredevil. I loved the way that it looked, and I liked that it looked different while still looking cool. It worked for me.
I am going to take the opposite view on this. I think that it was the weakest part of these episodes to me is the opening fight scene. It's very Disneyfied where there is smoke everywhere and it's CG smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't see all of the brutal beating that is happening to the 2 characters because it is Disney Plus. And I know that they're trying to give you what you want without exactly giving you what you want. And I understand that. But man, it is it was noticeable to me because Daredevil is one of the most damn violent shows ever made. And this is not that.
And the fight choreography is usually really good. Now, I'm not going to say this fight choreography is awful, but like it's not up to the standard that we have been seeing in the past couple of seasons where they have just been like, it's been so good. And even despite all of that, like I don't think it's shot very well either. It feels like there's a lot of just kind of wide stuff and like that, like they quite don't know where to point the camera most of the time. And like I know that like the wide shot with all the smoke, it's supposed to be cool. It's supposed to be Warner-esque and everything, but like ultimately it falls flat.
I'm not asking it to be that first hallway fight.
No, it's tough to be.
I mean, that is singular. That is up there with one of the best action scenes of all time. But I think I at least want something that's competent. And I don't think that this is a very competent fight scene.
We'll get to other fight scenes later because some of those are better than this one.
Agreed.
Number 8. You guys ready for number 8?
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Is Daredevil Spider-Man for big kids or Batman for teenagers?
Well, Batman is Batman for teenagers. I mean, that's the best time to have to read Batman. I was way more into Batman when I was 12 and 13 than
I agree.
when I was an adult. But I would say Daredevil is more. There's a little more Texas Pete on Daredevil than there is on Spider-Man, and that's good. That's the way that should be. Because Spider-Man is like he is the flagship of all things Marvel for a damn good reason. And he is an amazing character. And you need to get him back to basics every couple of years, right? And so there's a reason for that. It's because the next generation of kids are going to come up and they're going to love Spider-Man just as much as we did as kids. Daredevil does not have that same appeal. So you got to give him something else. And that is, you got to make him a little more violent and you got to make it a little more realistic than Spider-Man is. And so I agree with you. I think Daredevil is like the next phase.
And I asked that question for a reason because, in that kind of opening scenes when he first puts on the costume, he's given a real Spider-Man level of speed with which he's able to swing those sticks and climb up the sides of it really was giving me the vibe. And that's when I wrote that question.
And that was kind of what was kind of cool about that, because we didn't even get him doing much of that until like maybe even season 3 of Daredevil. And even then we didn't get much of it, but like that was always fun.
There was no superhero version of it. It was more action star version. Like if you saw it happen in Mission Impossible, it would fit in. But if this happened in Mission Impossible, we'd be laughing our butt off.
True.
Number 9.
When Daredevil throws Bullseye off that 4-story roof, were you surprised?
I wasn't. I kind of felt like I didn't. I was surprised that he lived. I think that was I was more surprised by that than.
Well, I know that you've got to open your story with the conflict, a reason for it. And for it to be born again, then he's got to go away. And what better reason to go away than you crossed a boundary you said you'd never cross, you killed somebody. So, no, it made perfect narrative sense to me, but also, fan of the storyline. And I know they've already burned most of the storyline in the Netflix earlier incarnation of this show, so they can't do the whole thing. But I expected something like this to happen.
I was very surprised. And the reason why is because we'd just gotten that very tame fight scene. And so because of that, and it was really kind of what I was expecting from a Disney Plus Daredevil show. The last thing I expected was him to throw him off of that roof. I thought they were going to Boba Fett him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Meaning Daredevil. They were going to Boba Fett Daredevil, and they didn't do that. And so I was really surprised when he threw him off.
If this were on Netflix, we wouldn't have seen him get up and still be alive. He just would have come back, and then in a flashback, we'd have found out he was still alive. But because it's Disney, they have to establish he survived, within a short enough time to say that wasn't an on-screen death.
Right.
See, parents associations, we're not killing everybody all the time. Sometimes we're just knocking them out and then putting them in prison. So, again, if anything's Batman style, that certainly would be. It's like, even if we throw him off the roof of this building, he's still alive. It's fine.
Number 10, Adam.
Early rumors for Daredevil were that Foggy and Karen weren't even in this Disney Plus series. Do you think this fan backlash led to them actually coming back for this season? And do you think they were just shoehorned in? Because that's certainly what it feels like to me. Well, I'll just put it to you this way: when Foggy gets a bullet in the gut in the first 20 minutes of the show, I'm just like, oh, we clearly were just kind of throwing him back into the fray.
And Foggy will come back as the main villain next season.
That's how that usually
It'll be the red beard instead of the red hood. But anyway, I think that the whole thing feels a little tacked on. I'll be interested to see if we see any more Karen Page, because I just went to a movie this past weekend that she was in, and I know that the shooting schedules would have had to coincide a bit, so she may not be in this season.
I think she's just going to pop in and pop out like she's been doing. She popped in episode 2 just to to talk to him in the hallway there and everything. I feel like we'll get a couple of more things like that, but I don't think Karen's going to be a large part of this story at all.
She got poochied.
Bruce, if I may steal a line from your favorite podcast of all time, I don't think we've seen the last of this Karen Page.
Thank you, Sean.
Of course. I think that, first of all, you got to keep this in mind. Disney does not care about your feelings
No.
at all. What Disney cares about is they want to make more money. And the way, so when they decide that they're going to make Daredevil, and that Daredevil ain't so great, they bring in Foggy and they bring in Karen Page so that it feels a little more Daredevil-y from what came down on high, right? We need to make this feel more like Daredevil. What better way to make it feel like Daredevil than you bring in his two besties?
The past season Daredevil cast members. Why not?
Exactly. And so that's what they do. That's what they did. And because they weren't going to do that. They were not going to bring back those two characters. But what changed it was this does not feel enough like Daredevil. So they get those two characters, they bring them back. They are totally going to have Karen Page come back at some point. Probably not this year, but they are. It is there if they need her.
Yeah.
That's my whole speculation is with making a movie around the same time this had to be getting shot, and knowing that the movie was in Louisville, not wherever this was shot, probably Atlanta area.
No, it's a New York show.
Oh, did they? Good for them.
It's a New York show.
But anyway, I just don't think that she was able to physically be both places as much as they needed her, and she was probably in the feature because I've seen the movie and she has a lot of screen time.
Oh,
but I'm just glad that when they came back and went back to the drawing board, they got rid of the whole kid Daredevil character
and his little dog.
Yeah, they cousin Oliver Daredevil.
Blindy.
Man, if there was a little blind dog in this, I don't know. You're kind of getting me one over on this series now.
No, the secret is, the dog's blind, but kid Daredevil can see, and he's a seeing eye kid.
Oh, he's got that same weird leash with the handle on it, like you'd have for a dog.
But the dog holds the handle in his mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
What if he's deaf though? What if we just kind of like trade off a couple of things?
Oh, some see no evil, hear no evil.
Yeah,
I like that.
We just gotta mix it up a little bit. Give him some problems.
Me likey.
Bruce, number 11.
When you saw how good Matt's life was a year later, did you think Foggy might have been what was holding him back?
So, my question was very similar to this one, which is that without fail, if it is a comedian who is not on their, on their last legs and that kind of thing, if it's a comedian gets off the road and decides I'm not going to be a comedian anymore, within that first year, their life gets immensely better, like instantly. And it's not it is almost overnight how much better that person is doing in their life and how much happier that person is. It is without fail, unless they're like at the end of their rope mentally. So when I see this with Murdoch, where Murdoch's like, "Oh man, I'm not Daredevil anymore. Foggy's dead. I don't have that stupid law office that never made any money. Now we're in this loft. We're in this loft business office that probably costs somewhere around $9,000 a month to be in.
It looks so expensive.
And it is just terrific. And yeah, he's little frowny face Matt come later on in the episode, but he sure as shit is smiling when he's looking when he's scanning out that window.
I wasn't gonna say a word.
Drinking coffee. He sure does seem happy. He seems pretty damn happy to me. And so I think that Foggy was in fact holding him back.
Well, listen, to be fair, Foggy did he was all about the vow of poverty and only doing the right thing and blah, 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 blah. So his ethics could have certainly slowed things down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Matt's a little dirty now. Who's to say? Number 12, Sean.
Did you guys have trouble remembering all the characters?
I'll tell you what really threw me was the way they treated Cherry like we're supposed to know who the heck that guy is.
Well, that's the that's like that character that they came up with at Marvel where he was Reed's best friend.
It felt, rest in peace, Michelle Trachtenberg, but it felt a lot like that season of Buffy where she just shows up with no explanation as her little sister. And
hey, what's up,
Buffy
guys?
has to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what really made me second guess myself if I remember who all these guys are or not, was because after Cherry and then the Kristen characters talking like I'm supposed to know her from the comics, and then I start second guessing, like maybe that isn't Foggy. Maybe that's somebody else. He does look a lot more handsome.
It is weird because, like, yeah, you do kind of, if you're not putting in that whole gap time in there, you're like, do I know these people? Or are these people from something? And it's been a while since the last Daredevil, so you do kind of go, wait, no, he wasn't in this. This is new. But yeah, in here, I wish that was one of the bigger problems I had with this. Well, let's get into 13 because that dovetails right into this. Why don't I buy Clark Johnson as Cherry? Because
I have a theory on this, so go ahead, Bruce, because I'm going to be long-winded.
All I'm going to say is that I have no idea, because it's like, why don't I buy this guy as this character I've never heard of? I mean, to me, it's like, for better or worse, this guy now is the measuring stick by which we measure Cherry going forward.
I will tell you why, Bruce, Adam. I will tell you why you don't buy him. Because when he is in the bar getting retired, I had a hard time figuring out who he was. Like, oh, does he work at the newspaper? It's like, that's what it felt like to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because the actor who plays him, or the actor who like Clark Johnson, you mentioned him, you name check him. So Clark Johnson, his physical look, what he looks like, he does not look like he has spent a single day in blue collar hell.
No.
He looks like somebody who had a fairly easy go of it. He does not look like a cop that has been on the force for 25, 30,
he's
35
grizzled
years.
And retired and ready to go. It's like, this guy looks like he's been working at a furniture mart.
He does. He looks like someone who has had a very a very cushy life. And that's why he doesn't read as a former cop.
Yeah, and like when he's kind of getting into that, like, oh, I'll go back and do XYZ and blah blah blah, and like I'll check the no, and it's just like, I'm like, I don't buy any of this shit. I don't buy anything coming out of this guy's face, and you're right. I think it's because he just doesn't have that, like, I'm an actual cop sort of look. And there's, like, for example, in Gotham, you think Donna Logue looks like a police officer?
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
That's what a police officer looks like. He's haggard. He's, beat up and everything. He's out of shape. He's perfect.
By the way, I'm really tired of these people who've had it so easy with their good looks and their entire lives, taking muscling some of the blue collar Joes out of their jobs.
Come on.
Number 14. I like this question. Murdoch and Fisk meet up in a diner and threaten each other. Why does so many great tough guy scenes happen in diners?
Well, I mean, obviously the big one that, now it wasn't a diner, it was a restaurant, but similar idea and everything. I think a lot of it comes from heat.
Yeah, that's what I think of as the prototype for that. It may not be the first, but it's definitely the one that you remember.
Because it was obviously such a big deal to have, like, two of these giant heavy hitters that have both been, Godfather movies and, done respectively well in there. And they were like, how are these two titans going to meet? And, like, you're waiting this whole time, and they aren't in the movie for the majority of time together.
I think the reason that particular meeting is filmed like at a diner booth is because they weren't there at the same time. They weren't in the room at the same time. So it's a great way to set up your shots. You're shooting one person from this side, the other person from that side. Pretty easy to edit it in together as if they're both there.
Yeah.
And I just think that scene was so iconic that maybe it was a practical decision to put that one there, but it had such an impact, and so many future movie makers were fans of that's why we keep seeing it.
Yeah, I think there's also that feeling of, without having to say the line, we're not so different, you and me.
Yeah.
But there's the thing in between the two characters also. Like there's physically something in between the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so generally, nobody goes to church anymore, but it's, that's the holy ground now of, like, look, this is Switzerland. This is neutral. We're at this diner. So, like, you have to like back off of being like being violent in this place.
Public place with lots of witnesses.
Unless you're Superman and Superman 2. Like,
or The Godfather when he shoots the guy under the table, right?
Well, it's over the table, but yeah, but you're right though, Sean. There, because it's in the head. There is that space in between the two of them, so like there is that barrier, but at the same time too, you're sitting down and kind of looking in a mirror, the opposite reflection of yourself. Right. You know, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy. It's those two, sides of the coin, sitting down and having that conversation. Like you said, when it's at that third party Switzerland kind of thing and stuff, it chills it all out, but it then allows you to have that conversation as opposed to just choking each other out immediately.
Right.
Which is what they would want to do. Number 15.
Karen Page mentions how Matt Murdock's red tinted glasses are out of fashion. So this is more of an Adam question. How quickly would you change your glasses if a really pretty girl who clearly has interest in you told you to change them?
Now, I'm going to put myself in the Daredevil shoes here, right?
Mm-hmm.
In as much as Daredevil, while he may be blind, if you're a comic book fan and stuff, he can practically see people. You know what I'm saying? He knows what Karen Page looks like. I'd be changing so fast it wouldn't even be a thing. I mean, if she was just like, you know what I find hot, the Meshack Taylor's glasses from Mannequin, wear those. I'd jump on that. You know what I'm saying?
That would look good on you, Adam. You should try it.
It would work.
You know how expensive those are? Those are like insanely expensive.
Worth it. Worth every penny for you, Adam.
He didn't get buried. He didn't get buried in those, did he?
Oh, I hope not. Those are valuable. There's a Smithsonian bound, I'm sure.
I was going to say, I smell a grave robbery if he did.
We're going to rob. That's a new flick. We're going to rob Meshack Taylor's grave.
So I could bang this lady.
Call up, what's the guy's name? Paul Feig or whatever. He'll make that movie.
Yes, Paul Feig would direct that movie. And honestly, he'd probably do a pretty good job of it. That's right. That's kind of in his alleyway there for sure.
That it totally is his wheelhouse for sure.
I'd love to see it.
How do you answer that question, Sean?
I would not. Because I have a very I know what works for me, you don't know what works for me mentality to my clothes. I have an ex-wife who kept over and over and over again telling me, you really need to get your eyebrows groomed.
Yeah.
Like tweezed or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. Because that would look insane on my face. There's certain people who can get away with that. I am certainly not that.
Yeah, you can trim, but if you get to a certain point, you're crossing the line.
See, I just had mine lasered off, draw them on every morning. They're perfect.
Oh, are you my mom?
Yeah. Is that why you always look surprised?
No, he's angry.
He's got the Uncle Leo.
So angry. Calm down. Okay, so I have had comments made about my glasses before by girls that are really pretty, and I'll be honest, my answer would be the same now as it has been factually in the past. If you buy me some new glasses, I'd be happy to wear them for you.
But see, that's also a thing. That's why this question is for Adam and not for you.
Okay.
You own a Riddler costume.
That's true. That's true.
Like you do not, nor do I know if you ever cared what anyone ever thought about what you're wearing.
Not to mention that I know when all the bullets run out, those of us with swords will be kings.
I'm pretty sure that if they made a Captain Caveman costume in your size,
oh my Lord, are you kidding?
They're so fast.
You would be like, hello.
Be like, which one of my children will I dress up as Captain Caveman's son?
Hey, I have the feet for it.
Which club should I bring with this costume? That's your only question.
Those of us in the know call them cudgels.
Why is he wearing a vest?
See?
Number 16, Adam, take the heat off of me, buddy.
I am very happy for Vincent D'Onofrio. It looks like he's lost a decent amount of weight, and that is awesome. I myself have lost a lot of weight, and I know that it's always good to put your health as a major aspect of your life. That being said, how much do we all lose now that Kingpin has lost all this weight? I hate it.
I figured that you would, because you like the your Kingpin to look like a ball.
I want him a big giant man who looks like he could just crush you. Like in, I want to say it's season 2 of Daredevil, where they have that, again, another table confrontation and stuff. And at one point when he picks him up and everything, this giant beast of a man holding this little dude, it is so, it's just like, damn it, this is what I have wanted. It made me so happy. And then when he comes in looking all gaunt this season, I'm like, shit.
Well, here's the
Sean,
thing, man. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you'll get this reference. It only takes a second, but I want my Kingpin to kind of be King Kong Bundy-esque.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, is that this character, this is the problem with the comic books with Kingpin. Because after Daredevil just beats the living hell out of Daredevil or Kingpin to the point where he's in the hospital and everybody thinks he's dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he gets out of the hospital, he is now just as big as he ever was. He's a big tough guy again. But that isn't the way that life works. If you are somebody who is a gigantic, great big tough guy, and somebody comes and just hands your ass to you, after you get out of the hospital, you're not going to walk up to that guy and be like, let's go again. That's just not going to happen. And I'm hoping that the people who make the show are smart enough to know that Kingpin is going to have to go after Daredevil in a totally different way that isn't a physical threat anymore. He's more like Lex Luthor now than he was before.
And obviously that feels like that clearly the direction that they're going here and everything. But to me, that was always the best part about, the Wilson Fisk character, is that like he is this giant, powerful dude who at any moment could snap. And especially how we've portrayed him in the previous Netflix seasons and stuff like that. His kind of vulnerability and psyche and everything put together with his physicality is what makes people scared. For example, Sean and I are both very tall gentlemen, and I imagine that you, as I have had to do in my life, is very oftentimes you have to be cognizant of how you kind of act around some people sometimes, because you're a big dude, and that can be very scary to people that don't realize that you're a good person deep down. So you have to.
I know what it's like to be scary to people.
You got to watch yourself. So that's it's the difference. That's all it is.
With children specifically, yes, you have to oh look, I'm 6'3", I know that to this little child I look like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. I know that.
That's whenever I see a big giant man, like I will go, I got to go say hi to him because I got to feel like what it feels like to be other people every now and then. So I can get like a reference, because like this dude came into my work once. He was like, he was damn near 7 foot. And I was like, and his old lady was like 6'4". She was huge too. I was like, man, you were giant.
Wow, those kids.
Yeah,
Jesus.
She was giant. I'm like, man, my ex-wife was like 6 foot tall. So like, I'm used to dealing with tall ladies. You are a big one. She goes, oh, just wait. And then her husband walks in and he is a beast. This giant, and I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. I got to come and stand by you because I am not used to this. To going and looking up, and I'm like, oh, this is what people feel like sometimes. Okay, it makes me respect people a little bit more. I always find the big guy. That's what I do.
I just think Daredevil's going to defeat Kingpin by destroying his Ozempic supply.
Now, here's the thing, though, dude. And again, I'm happy for Vincent D'Onofrio, and I do want him to be healthy. Because he's an actor I thoroughly enjoy. I want to see him around for many more years to come. That said, Colin Farrell put on a fat suit.
Oh yeah,
and a good fat suit. So
I'm all for that.
Put on a fat suit. I'd be A-okay with it, and it still works.
What's his name from The Mummy told me it's called a mass enhancement device.
Oh, that makes more sense. I like that. I want
the
a
guy
mass
from The
enhancement.
Whale. What was
Brendan Fraser.
Oh, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, one of my favorite guys, and I couldn't remember his name.
Mask
and Chino Man.
Chino Man would be a way different movie. Instead of that, it's just a Mexican guy.
I'm pretty good at spotting Ozempic face. I don't think that D'Onofrio's taking Ozempic. I think that's just him being healthier.
I'll tell you this: somebody tried, like on the internet that didn't know me, tried to insult me with Ozempic face. I was like, oh. So nice. It's like, how
didn't cost me $700 a month.
Little old me, thank you so much. It made me feel so good. That warmed my day, bro. It's just like your insult made me feel so good. I'm like, no, I wish I had that kind of bread.
Somebody said, I bet you think you're really smart. And I say, you'd lose that bet. Number 17. Were you guys expecting White Tiger to be a younger guy?
I I like to think of myself as someone who is very well versed in comic books. I have never heard of White Tiger before this episode.
Oh, he's a George Perez creation. He's Puerto Rican. I don't know why George Perez found that important, but he did for some reason. But he's like a college kid. He's a college kid, finds an amulet, goes on a terror spree, gets taken down, and then later other people find the amulet, like his kids later. But I think it's one of those where he got killed pretty early in his run against Daredevil. But yeah, I think of him as a college kid. That's why I was kind of surprised when we see his, who he really is.
What if that amulet ages him in this one?
I love it. I'm all for it. Put me back in. I'm back in the fold.
Let me start over. Marvel has to be far more careful. Characters have to be far more careful about just leaving amulets lying around. It's like everybody has an amulet that turns them into another thing. Because isn't that Darkhawk's thing too, an amulet?
Man, I thought Darkhawk was more science-based, but I can't remember.
Where else are you going to go that's going to get you hot Darkhawk talk, everybody? Think about that. Think about it. Leave a like. What the hell are we on? 18.
Number 18.
Shanzi.
Second episode is dedicated to Camar de los Reyes, the actor who played White Tiger. I didn't recognize his name, and I looked him up. He's in Call of Duty, Nixon, The Cell. Did you know him before Daredevil Born Again? Because I did not.
I was not familiar with him at all.
I didn't play the Call of Duties that he was in, and because sometimes they've been doing a couple of recurring characters over the last couple of years with these Call of Duty stories and stuff like that. So apparently he's in a couple of them. I had not seen. I wonder though, maybe not, if there's any connection between him getting this job and working with D'Onofrio on The Cell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe talking about my butt.
It might be. You might be right. You might be right, man. I mean, I know that happens a lot where an actor's like, "Hey, I work with this guy. He's great. Bring him in." He definitely got him an audition.
Yeah, he's got a good look to him here and everything. Yeah, it's an unfortunate that he just passed.
I mean, spoiler warning, but I mean, the fact that the actor died means they can't do a whole lot with the character beyond this season, and that's always makes me sad because I'm afraid I'm going to love that character.
Yeah, especially
what if White Tiger loses the amulet?
Oh, and then it's going to be found by his sister, the tigress.
No, I was gonna say a dude, and then you said the right thing. It's going to be a girl.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, that's what it is in the comics, is a female.
Well, okay, it all makes sense. Woke. No, I'm just kidding.
It's going to be we're like a regular Stan Lee, which means Adam came up with the idea, but we stole it.
Yeah,
sounds right.
We've reached a point where there's no fight left in me. Whatever, man.
Number 19, was the Matt versus Criminals fight in the apartment the best fight so far this series?
Yes.
Is that the crooked cops you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss another fight in an apartment, but oh my goodness, I love that fight.
You
guys, no problems
when that happened, I was like, this is what I signed up for. This stuff here.
You guys know,
and it goes through the skin. Oh, that's not very Disney.
You guys know my favorite type of character is the kind that just beats the living shit out of two people and then stares at his hands because he doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You're a la Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Right. Like that is my favorite type of character. However, my second favorite type of character, guys, you don't want to do this. Guys, you don't want to do this. And he's warned you several times. And then he proceeds to just beat the living hell out of you.
And I love how it's at the last second.
I call that the Quigley Down Under. So if you're familiar with that film, you know where that comes from.
You know that I know that movie. Why are you saying that? You know that I know that movie.
Oh, I love Quigley Down Under ending. I never had much use for a pistol.
I just said I didn't have much use for one.
I love that ending. The movie probably sucks, I'm sure, but I love that ending.
I'm willing to give that one another go. Selleck in the early 80s.
We could have a Tom Selleck month, guys.
I remember my brother
what is that? No Shave November or whatever?
Yeah.
Make that Tom Selleck's mustache.
Ooh, that's good.
All right. I think we may have a winner here for November.
We can watch I Road to China. I remember that from my kidhood. Okay, let's see. Number 20.
He takes us totally off track of it. He's like, come on, guys. Come on,
put it together.
And then I glance away where a clock exists and realize what's happening. So if you're a crooked cop, which is a bigger humiliation? Getting beaten up by a lawyer or getting beaten up by a blind guy?
It's a tough one. I mean, blind guy, at least there's like martial arts prerequisites out there that like show you that a blind guy can kick some ass and stuff like that. So I feel like maybe a lawyer. I feel like I could probably beat up most
attorney
lawyers.
Specifically. You're a cop and you get your butt kicked by a public defender. They're razzing you at the station till the day you retire.
Yeah, there's definitely no good there. I love how they waited to that last possible second before he just beat the shit out of everybody. Where it was like
real superhero stuff.
He very much gave them every single possibility. In the last second, it's just like, okay, in the next second I'm going to be dead. So poof, and then just turn on the ass whooping machine. Love it.
Yeah,
it was like something I would expect from Captain America. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a confession here, Bruce. When you sent us this email of your questions, I thought that this question read like this: if you're a crooked cop, which is the bigger humiliation, getting beaten up by a lawyer or getting beaten up by a lawyer?
Yeah, that was a typo. I changed it.
I'm sorry. I thought that.
That was a typo. That's what it said when I said it.
I see. And I literally thought to myself, I was like, that's a really good written joke right there. I literally thought that.
I gave away my answer because my answer is the lawyer is a bigger embarrassment than the blind guy.
It's definitely the lawyer. It's because there's also like the feeling of like, well, the blind guy could be anybody, and you could be taken out with a cheap shot by anybody, but by a lawyer, and you're a cop. Like there's a stigma with that isn't there with the blind guy.
The lawyer was the blind guy was Zatoichi, you know.
Like let's do a little role playing, okay? So like Adam got beat up by a lawyer. Sweet Shanzi, you're his cop buddy making fun of him, and I'm like the commissioner or something. You go, hey, commish, guess what? Adam just got beat up by a lawyer, and then my comeback would have to be, oh really? What was her name?
Yeah, of course.
All right, 21, Sean.
Murdoch's therapist lady friend is doing a signing at an independent bookstore in Manhattan, and I had to look it up because it seemed impossible that there were still independent bookstores in Manhattan that aren't world famous. But it turns out there's more than 10. Does that number surprise you?
Nope, because they're all owned by very attractive gay men with wealthy hedge fund husbands. Like they're all works of, labors of love or what have you. It's, we lose a lot of money doing this, but it keeps them out of the house and happy.
Yeah.
I disagree. Here's what it is, because there's a lot of this that's going on in New York that you don't really think about. But there's a cat on TikTok that goes through and like starts interviewing people. And there's another, maybe it's the same dude. It's on YouTube as well. He'll go around to these like old New York places that have been there forever. And there were stores that you were like, how does this survive? Like literally map shops.
Yeah.
Map shops. It's like this store sells nothing but pens, and it's been open since the 40s. And mostly I think it's because of rent control and stuff like that. So they can't, that's how they can still manage to kind of stay there for that bloody long. Because my guess is if they could turn up that temperature, they turn it up so fast to get those guys out of there. But
I've always thought they must have
still there.
They must have like a bedroom upstairs, and that's where the people live. So like your apartment rent or your bookstore rent is the same. So why not have a bookstore?
Yeah, I'd be sleeping in the books. Why not? I'm at that rate.
Hey, I've got a friend. His family somehow managed to have a Manhattan, like Times Square area storefront that sold nothing but bootleg Indian movies. So anything's possible.
I'm telling you, it happens.
I do have to bring this up, or it's going to eat away at me. The second time that I saw the show, I realized that this question is incorrect, because the bookstore that she is in for her signing you see a sign very clearly in the background that says Harlem. So it's not Manhattan. But the question still had to be there, because 10 is a very surprising number to me of independent bookstores.
Yeah.
I wonder why they made that storytelling choice, like such a small detail. If it's important, you make it more obvious, or I don't know. It's interesting now. I'm going to have to look back into it.
I'm thinking it's more like, look, there's not an independent bookstore that's that isn't super famous that isn't in Manhattan. So let's put it somewhere else.
Johnny's Bookstore.
Right.
Number 22, looks like unsurprisingly, we're getting the Punisher this season. I'm sure stoked about that. But my guess is that we have completely dropped the Elektra story, and that'll just be a dead idea. Do we need Elektra back? Are we done with that?
Boy, this is just going to depend on your relationship with Daredevil. If your relationship with Daredevil is primarily through the Marvel Netflix show, you're not missing much without Elektra. But if it's through the comics, particularly the Frank Miller comics they're trying to invoke with the title of this series, Elektra becomes real important.
Yeah, I think it depends on how successful this show is, because over time you just start running out of things, and you're like, hey, let's bring Elektra back. So if we're in season like 4 of the Disney Daredevil show, then they'll bring Elektra back for sure. I don't care. I think the character is iconic because of Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. I think that character is very one-dimensional.
Yeah, I agree with that statement.
There's a lot cooler women in the Marvel universe than her.
Yeah, it's just like she's she is to Daredevil as Catwoman is to Batman. Yeah. If you got a certain relationship with the character, you're going to reject anyone else in a prolonged storyline.
Right.
23.
Number 23 is Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, Marvel Television's best return on investment.
Yes, and it's not even close. He is the best. He is the best villain you have. It's not even close.
Yeah.
And out of all of Marvel Television, not just Netflix, he's the character I think could translate to the big screen the best.
Yes, without a doubt. And he's got a presence that most of their villains don't have. Like, think of the first villain from Guardians of the Galaxy. That is a non-entity.
Couldn't tell you his name unless I looked at Wikipedia first.
Right. I think that he's a very good actor, but he should never have been the villain in that movie.
I hope Vincent D'Onofrio falls off a little ledge or something in this series, and then just falls into a big old it's New York City, right? So there's an open fat vat machine,
and it enlarges him,
and he just kind of sucks it all up and stuff, and then he comes out and he's fat again, and then all is right with the world.
I fell in the vat where they make the Oreo cream, and my only escape was to eat my way out.
Oh, now I'm angry.
As long as they bring back the Hawaiian shirt, I'm for it.
Man, we missed out on so much, guys. But 24.
How long before J. Jonah Jameson hires Ben Urich's daughter for his podcast empire?
Yesterday.
I hope it'd be amazing. I don't think that they got the balls to, put all that together and stuff like that. Even if it's not, even if, we don't get the actor.
We seen Daredevil in Spider-Man, in the last Spider-Man movie.
So they go all meta with it. And J. Jonah Jameson's podcast empire, how easy is it to work a podcaster into every future project, And then you got to tune in to the Daily Bugle podcast, and you hear the characters in character talking about the events of whatever the latest property was.
Dig this. I think you just came across the best idea, Bruce, and I'll branch upon that. They need to do with J. Jonah Jameson's character what we kind of did with Stan Lee. Have him be that kind of...
Oh, God, that's great.
That updating guy who's and then we can shoot 20 of them together, and he is just that cohesive little bond that brings you into the movies.
Adam Fortress. Jesus, that is $1 million idea.
Isn't it good? I just came up with that. I'm like, that would be a good idea. Now, Bruce, I'm going to thank you for starting the trend of that, man.
What a great idea, because Stan Lee being in all of the movies was kind of shucks, this scene isn't so great, but it is Stan Lee. So, and I mean, you could do that until this man dies, because they're clearly going to be making Marvel stuff forever now. So,
and again, you can like they did with Stan Lee, you can bank them if you got a decent idea of what you kind of want to do or whatever, and then just seeing him on screen just ranting as Jonah, it's perfect. Terrific idea, Portress. Make it happen. Just send me a nickel.
That might be your finest idea.
Hey, I'll take it. Number 25, Netflix Daredevil was definitely a hard R rating, and its continuation over on Disney Plus came into question. So with these 2 episodes, I'll ask you boys, does this feel like a show Does this show on Disney Plus feel any different to you? I think
it does feel different. It does feel different to me, but that doesn't necessarily make it worse. Like I like this. I like this Daredevil. I like these 2 episodes. I don't think but it does feel different, and there's going to be people who that rubs the wrong way for sure.
I think it feels different in a good way. And when I say that, not that I mean it's better, but it feels fresh and it keeps me a little bit more interested than just giving me a season 4, because I was kind of done with that story. And this, I mean, Reborn is the perfect title for this because it's pulled me back in. And I think it's also working pretty good as a jumping on point for people too.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Now, I'll say this, and it's not, I don't mean it as mean as it sounds, but there are times when this feels like a CW show in some ways. Not all the time, but like every now and then there's some stuff that'll pop out and you're just like, ooh, what the hell's this? And then they'll be back to, okay and everything. But like that's what the biggest difference to me is like it just feels like, and I hate being the person that says stuff like that, but it is that Disneyfication of it just a little bit here. And it's like it's kind of softened those edges on our very rough and tumble Daredevil. And I want my Daredevil gritty. I want Matt Murdock, reeling from pain every now and then. And I don't like, he is smiling a fuckload in this thing, man. He is just like, he's grinning and like, well, no wonder look at him. He's a handsome man. He's grinning and all this kind of stuff. And he's vulnerable because he's blind. What lady wouldn't fall in love with it? Get out of here. But yeah, I want him mad and angry and, the rest of the world falling around him.
I take great comfort in that compound fracture that penetrated the skin, because it did tell me that things that we don't expect are still able to happen. There's no way, no amount of Disneyfication would make the total product Disneyfied when you get something as gruesome as that.
Well, and I want when the Punisher comes in, don't soft pedal the Punisher for me, please.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I want the Punisher killing people.
I want him soft pedaled. I think his pedals were a little too hard before. But the brutality, he wants all the brutality from the Punisher that we've come to expect from Netflix.
Yeah, I don't want him to puss out on this.
I see. So like he's called the Punisher now because he just gives out spankings.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've been
time
a bad
out.
boy.
He carries a little stool and makes you sit on it for a period of time. It's your time out.
He'll watch you and just be like, "Have you learned your lesson?"
Boy, that guy really does care about corporal punishment. But yeah,
he's turned a new leaf. This Punisher.
Number 26. Are you guys worried this show might get political?
This is the most ridiculous question of the week. It's already political.
I was about to say, yeah, we're already there. What are you talking about?
I'm so happy we made it to question 26 without talking about the obvious aspects of it. Because, remember like, I don't know, 5 years ago when we were going through that crap? I can't go back there, guys, for many reasons. Yeah. No pseudonym would protect me enough at this point.
It's not as heavy-handed as other things I've seen in the past, so I'll at least give a little grace as to that.
This week
we're not exactly. That I wasn't going to say specifically.
I was going to say, what did you watch The Apprentice right before this?
No, I watched a Bong Joon-ho movie, and that one certainly leaned into this particular area for sure.
Yeah.
So it's not as wild and out there as that, at least not yet, and I hope it doesn't get to that point. And it's one of the things that I felt a little bit trepidatious, and I still do with this series so far, is it feels like we've, softened Kingpin too much. And I don't like that. I feel like I don't...
Oh, sir.
I don't feel menaced when he's sitting across that table.
Sir,
right
you see it coming. What are you talking about?
I hope so. I want to be there.
The menace is there.
He's about to cave somebody's head in. I mean, it's going to happen.
Make me believe it happens. Like I said, once I'm sold, I'll be sold. But I got to be sold first.
I did like the Tammany Hall references, because if you guys started to get political, I was going to say it was all a commentary on Tammany Hall, which you can argue that it is. However, Kingpin seems anti-Tammany Hall when his character seems very much like Boss Tweed. Okay.
Yes.
27, Sean.
I totally agree with everything that you just said, too. I think that...
I'm not allowed to say anything else relating to government.
Okay, moving on.
27, Sean.
Why is Daredevil the only show Marvel Television can seem to get right on a consistent basis?
For me, it's just like, it's a simple enough idea. It really is. It's kind of street level Batman here and everything, but done in the Marvel universe. And if you ride that line correctly, and I think that Stephen DeKnight and all the other cats that rocked out that first season of Daredevil really established it correctly, and that is the toughest thing to do is establish yourself from go and really kind of cement what you are. And they did a fantastic job with that, and they, for the most part, didn't really veer off the schedule too much. Now with this one, we may be going off a little bit of a different thing. Like I said, we're still very early on to tell so far, but we'll see.
I think it starts with freedom. It came first, and that's when they had the most freedom to build this world. Mm-hmm. And all the other worlds that they built for Netflix had to fit into this, and this was separated from the MCU at the time. And then, was it not? We kind of had those questions half answered. Mm-hmm. But, you want to hear half answers, go to HMP. But anyway, I think it's the only show they can get right because it's the only one that was done independently without network TV in mind.
And it didn't feel like it had to necessarily really be connected to anything. They let Daredevil kind of sit by itself,
Yeah.
They may have referenced a thing or two here to the regular Marvel universe, but that was only really just to connect you and let you know that the world is there together. It had no connection to that stuff nearly at all. And that's what was so great about it, is that we focused on making an actual show and not a tie-in to the rest of the damn world. Which is not what we do anymore. We just go how does this lead to the next thing?
Right.
28, Adam.
28. We got 7 episodes left already this season. We were smashing through them really fast here and everything. How could they screw the pooch with this one?
Man, go ahead, Bruce.
I always think of, this is kind of a revival, not really a reboot, not really a sequel, but a revival. But it feels a lot like a sequel series, like it's Daredevil Part 2. And we used to joke on the old podcast about how in the part 2s, people lose their powers. And I think they could really screw the pooch if in some weird thing, Matt gets his vision back, but loses his ability to fight crime.
Oh my God. If he gets
that would screw the pooch.
Wow. Daredevil gets his vision back. What a life ruining thing for Daredevil.
It's like the human form of Ben Grimm.
like that, like whatever crazy medication that Charles Xavier is taking in the X-Men movies where, listen, I can walk again, but my powers are gone. What? How's that work?
Yeah, trust me, that's how it works here.
But there are so many ways that they could completely turn this into like a show where I will drop out the second that something that is unforgivable happens. Which they seem to love to do with
scrolls show up.
Oh man, my Lord!
There are so many different things. They could try to shoehorn some dumb Echo thing into this. They could do just over and over and over again. I think that they know that they're dancing on the raggedy edge, which is why they had reshoots of this show. And they seem to be the correct kind of reshoots where they're actually fixing a story instead of, we got to shoehorn this in. And so I hope that they are going to do as right as they can as Disney Plus by this show. With that being said, I still think that there is so many different ways they could screw this thing. And if that's the case, then I'm done with the show. We'll wrap out the rest of this season. Shit, we watched every episode of Kenobi. Yeah. We can watch every episode of this show.
Uh-huh. But that doesn't mean that we're coming back for season 2 of Kenobi. I don't think
definitely
Come
not.
On now.
Definitely
season 7 we might. That would be
season 7 of Kenobi.
Number 29. This is a question that we've kind of flirted with already. I want to see what we say. How long do you think we'll have to wait to see Matt back in costume?
Well, I mean, because we have kind of seen him up top here and everything with it. I say by episode 5, he's got to.
I think the back half of the last episode. I'm afraid they're going to follow a formula they've done before. And he'll put it on when he finally rescues whoever he's going to rescue from Kingpin in the last half of the last episode.
Let's put it this way. If it's a well-made show, it'll be the top part of the third act of this season. If it's a bad show, then we know it'll be at the very end
Yeah,
like
I see what you're
pulling
saying.
the mask on.
That's what I'm afraid.
Smiling, cut.
Now, here's what I'm hoping for, and maybe no one agrees, but we saw that the costume we know has been damaged, and this would be a good excuse to break out the yellow costume.
Well,
Well,
they've
we've seen
already
the
done
yellow
that.
costume.
Yeah, they've already done
But
that.
not in a Netflix show. Like that could be his excuse for putting it on is because he doesn't have the other one anymore.
I think they're trying to get away from that as fast as they can.
I never saw it. I didn't watch the show.
Well, I didn't either. But the thing is that no one talks about it, and again they were just like, when asked, "Is this in continuity?" They're like, like,
look,
not really.
I'm totally fine with him not getting in the red leather. Like if he just is running around like he did in season 1 and season 3 of the show, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, he's got it. Is like, again, we got to the point where we've kind of gone 360 and around almost at this point, because we started out with kind of our X-Men and everything. We're like, hey, what do you want us to wear? Yellow spandex?
Right.
And so something that was very different from what our comic accurate costumes are. And we finally got to a place where we were very comfortable with actually showing superheroes in their costumes and stuff. And the superhero costumes look pretty damn good these days. And now all of a sudden we're back to like, shit, we want to show them in these costumes again? I'm like, I don't know, bro. Give me a costume. I'm in for a penny, in for a pound at this point. You know, if Wolverine's going to put on that hat at the end, and I'll take it. That's what I want. Well, you get mad because you see him put on the hat there at the end, and you're like, why weren't we doing this the whole time?
Do you remember the motorcycle helmet Wolverine wore on the cartoon? I want him to put that on at the end of the movie.
Hey, listen.
Dude, we can do that with everybody because Captain America did that too in the 70s
Oh,
TV
that's
show.
right. Got the little things to put the feet in, the little wing thingies in there.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, Shanzi, take us home. I got some turkey pot pie to go eat.
30. How nice is it to have our friend Daredevil back?
It's like a friend that like you used to hang out, then they left and you didn't think about him a lot. And then when you run into him again and you hang out again, you're like, man, I really should have tried harder to stay in touch. I forgot how much fun this was.
Yeah, but sometimes like you do start to like I'm the same, but sometimes you go, did you just fart?
For me, it's like, man, I hadn't seen Daredevil in a long time. I kept hearing bad things that he was doing though. Where it's like, man, do I want to hang out with Daredevil again? I don't know if I want to. And then
the reason you haven't seen him, he was in jail.
And then you hang out with him. You hang out with him for 2 hours, and you're like, oh, you know what? This is great. Great to have you back.
You
Daredevil.
get a 3-beer buzz with Daredevil, you're gonna have a good time.
Exactly.
Just put
Who
on a
cares
little
if
bit.
you got locked up for being amorous with a public sculpture?
That's
We still
Who
love
cares
you,
if you were carried in a weirdly sexual scene by She-Hulk to her bedroom?
Nothing wrong with it.
buddy. I
Nothing
gotta go
wrong.
check out that She-Hulk. I'm missing it. I missed a lot.
Oh, don't worry. It's available streaming for you right now. That is it, everybody. We got our Daredevil 30 questions out of the way here. We want your 30 questions as well. So as always, I want you to mail those at marvel30q@gmail.com. We record on Sunday, so get those bad boys in ASAP. And if they're fantastic questions, they'll end up in this here program. Bruce, plug something.
People should check out Half-Ass Movie Podcast.
Boom.
It's good.
Sean?
Yeah, I stay with Bruce.
I
Check out Half-Ass Movie Podcast.
I say get away from that. Why don't you just go listen to our friends over at We've Been Watching or whatever. Just go watch something.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Don't watch anything that we do. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.